There's some weird and interesting stuff to find. I would still say you shouldn't. Play another FPS game, or a disaster post-apocalypse game, or any myth game. It's a big list. Just get me out of this one.
Woo! Oh yeah.
Wait.
It's you.
Oh god damn it.
I know. Yep. Okay, well that's clear.
Are Roswell graves and flying saucers modern American mythology? Those might have gotten around too much, but we still have Johnny Appleseed and I guess Bigfoot. Lots of weird regional ones. What are other game shapes I have in my collection besides sphere and trapezoid? A pyramid, a perfect cube, and a very long rectangle. How do I feel about Titus becoming a 40k narrative character? Seeing as the game sold a ton of copies, it makes sense to bring more people in, but I wish they'd stop killing people off screen. Thoughts on the Deus Ex Remaster trailer? Everything in it looks like a Minecraft hot dog. Was I intentionally misidentifying the rise out of people? It's in the 2013 video. Animals aren't the only thing misattributed.
That's not bad.
On-screen example.
I mean, that's surprisingly good for that. Not even pointed at me. Holy shit. Wow, that's wild.
Sometimes I'd rather just.
Alright, thanks. Maybe the best mic is just the fucking camera mic from this ancient fucking Microsoft webcam. What do we think, chat? I don't know what to fucking do about this. Alright, here. Oh, wait, here we go. Is it you? No, I can't see. I'm still blind. Is it
A worm crawled up my arm and rested on my neck.
Kinda.
When he whispered into my ear, I felt a
Just,
tingle.
you know, confirm.
He
Listen,
told me
man,
how to
I'm
make a weapon
fucking
that would help us
selected.
against our enemies.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. It's made of worms.
What?
It even fires worms. But it stings like you wouldn't believe.
No,
System Shock 1 was a fantastic game. A well-designed sci-fi dungeon crawler with plenty of options and freedom. Like Ultima Underworld before it, it could have gotten a sequel that was basically the same game again, just with some new additions and features. Instead, it didn't get a sequel for 5 years, and it resulted in a very different game. For one, it was a joint venture between two companies,
Prison Life
Looking Glass
Studio,
and
isn't that
Other
cute?
Looking Glass. Irrational
That's
Games
nice
was
of
founded
you,
by 3
Prison.
ex-employees of LGS who are now back working with their old team, just as a partner company rather than employees. The game itself was being developed using the Dark Engine. At the same time, the Dark Engine was being made for Thief 1. So you may notice quite a few similarly shaped enemies or the same animations being used back and forth. Thief 1 fed System Shock 2, which in turn fed Thief 2. The entire stealth system is still in the game, you're just short a light gem and some levels to truly support it. It is ironic that System Shock 1 was built off the back of a fantasy game, and now 2 is doing the same. I'm not making any kind of asset counter, but if you see one, you can take a shot or something. But it is worth pointing out because it can explain some weirdness. Ever wondered why mutants hold shotguns like that? Well, now you know. Naturally, both engines had some issues on modern hardware, but System Shock 2 has been better taken care of officially. Both the Steam and GOG versions are updated with New Dark. However, you can make your experience much better. So let's get started. Now, no matter what, you should really want to download System Shock 2 tool. This makes sure you have the latest and best community New Dark version of the game. It fixes engine issues, gives you better default controls, and automatically upgrades you to EAX sound. Even if you are the purest solely for Procreation vanilla player, you should have this tool. But it also includes a mod manager. If you saw my Thief videos, you know I'm very particular about this kind of thing. Mods are great, but if it's your first time playing a game, especially a classic like this one, you don't want to mod yourself out of knowing what it's like. I've replayed this game a lot over the years, and these are the ones I now never play without. If it's your first time playing the game, you'll also be safe. This game had a lot of development issues and could use some more time to polish
I'm
things up.
stupid.
That's the goal of the community patch. For
That's
one, it
funny.
has an absurd amount of fixes built into it. Misaligned or floating objects, engine
Beeps.
issues, they're all gone. They enhanced how the lighting works, cleaned up effects. It's kind of insane how much there is, and I can't really properly list them all out. That makes sense. Let me give some examples. In vanilla, hacking security disables local turrets and cameras. Except if there are 2 turrets in a room and you hack one over, they'll both activate and start murdering each other. In the patch, that doesn't happen, and they both sit there like you'd expect. Also, cameras don't
How many
just stay
fucking
there.
times am I gonna
Swinging
watch
around like
this
they're
one?
still
Jesus
functioning,
Christ.
they turn off. This adds some extra challenge because it's now easier to miss turned off cameras. So if you hack an area and you're not careful,
No.
you'll be in for some fun on the way back. If you skip training in the beginning, you'll no longer have
We're not
pump
watching
stations around.
fucking
Most
System
of the
Shock
developers
again.
weren't fond of them.
Sorry, bro.
the doorknob hitcha. That's what Judge Karen Curry told Trump's insurance lawyer, Lindsay Halligan, only she said it nicer because she's a 77-year-old federal judge. She also said that the cases against former FBI Director James Comey and New York Attorney General Letitia James were DOA, since Halligan was never lawfully appointed to hold the office of U.S. Attorney. Just weeks after the president celebrated the indictments of his mortal enemies, the cases disappeared in an embarrassing cloud of stinky smoke. Gosh, who could have seen that coming except viewers on this channel who have gotten a whole pile of videos explaining that this was inevitable. It is the least surprising November surprise ever, and the administration has reacted in the least surprising way ever.
Sure, we'll be taking all available legal action, including an immediate appeal, to hold Letitia James and James Comey accountable for their unlawful conduct.
Yep, they're doubling down. Not gonna take no for an answer, no matter how many courts tell them that they have bungled the law. But what does all that mean? What happens next, and what does that have to do with hats? In September, Trump pushed out Halligan's predecessor, Eric Siebert, and he wasn't subtle about the reason. The president was pissed that Siebert refused to indict Trump's enemies, former FBI Director James Comey and New York Attorney General Letitia James, for crime TBD. He ordered Attorney General Bondi to appoint Lindsay Halligan, a Florida insurance lawyer who'd never prosecuted a case in her life, to lead one of the largest U.S. attorney's offices in the country. Halligan followed Trump from Florida to D.C., where she was appointed Assistant to the President for Domestic Policy, Special Assistant to the President, and Senior Associate Staff Secretary. On March 5th, Trump put out an executive order tasking her with de-wokifying the Smithsonian so it would concentrate on the nice parts of American history and not so much on the icky stuff like slavery or the wholesale theft of land from indigenous people. On September 20th, Trump announced on Truth Social that Halligan was going to be the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia, known to its friends as EDVA. Things went sideways fast, but first Halligan did what she was hired to do. On September 25th, just 5 days before the statute of limitations were due to run out, she walked into the grand jury all by herself and secured an indictment of James Comey for lying to Congress in 2020. And on October 9th, she got the indictment of Tish James for making false statements on a mortgage application in 2020. Mission accomplished. Except, almost immediately it became clear that there were major problems with these indictments, especially the Comey one. Some sort of way, Lindsay Halligan got 3 signed indictments out of 1 presentation to the grand jury, which is not a thing. Check out Anna's video about sitting in the courthouse watching the Comey case implode before her very eyes. But the biggest and most immediate challenge to Halligan's cases was that she was never legally appointed as U.S. Attorney in the first place. See, Congress says that U.S. attorneys have to be appointed with the advice and consent of the Senate. That is, the president has to nominate them and convince the Senate to vote to approve them. The procedure for temporarily filling a vacant U.S. attorney role is set out in 28 U.S.C. Section 546, which says that the Attorney General can appoint someone to fill the role on an interim basis for 120 days. After the interim appointment expires, the judges in that district can appoint someone to fill the role. Often the judges vote to keep the president's interim appointee on the job. That's what happened with Eric Siebert, who'd been a prosecutor in EDVA for 15 years. The judges there voted to keep him, and he could have stayed on that job forever without worrying about Senate confirmation. The judges were less impressed with some of Trump's other picks, like Alina Habba in the District of New Jersey. Habba is another of Trump's personal lawyers who had 0 prosecutorial experience when Trump tapped her to serve as U.S. attorney. When her 120-day term expired, the judges in New Jersey passed her over in favor of a career prosecutor. That infuriated Bondi, who accused the judges of rebelling against the will of the president, which is wild. The judges have no obligation to bless the president's choices, so Bondi developed what I call the 3-hat dance to install Trump's cronies as U.S. attorneys without Senate confirmation. First, she takes advantage of the 120-day interim appointment under Section 546. That's hat 1. Then she appoints the crony as the first assistant U.S. attorney on the theory that the first assistant automatically gets promoted to the top job when the position becomes vacant. That buys another 200 days under a law called the Federal Vacancies Reform Act. Hat 2. And then, for good measure, she appoints the crony as a special attorney under 28 U.S.C. Section 515, the same law that was used to appoint special counsel Jack Smith. So, there you go. 3 hats. And this weird dance has worked, kind of. I mean, it hasn't worked to keep the cronies in as U.S. attorney. In fact, judges in New Jersey, Nevada, and California have agreed that the president cannot get around Senate confirmation with successive interim appointments. Every single court has ruled that the president gets one 120-day interim appointment, and that is it. But the first assistant still gets to run the office in the absence of a confirmed U.S. attorney, and, most importantly, any case that the crony touches is still valid thanks to that second hat, which gives him or her a secondary source of prosecutorial authority. So when defendants moved to dismiss their cases because the other cronies weren't legally appointed, judges said, yes, that appointment is totally illegal, and also, tough luck, fella, because the other hats make the prosecution valid, which makes it even weirder that Bondi did not do that with Lindsay Halligan. Bondi appointed Halligan under Section 546 and called it a day. That is just one hat, and if you'll forgive the metaphor, it was a hat Trump had already given away in March to Eric Sieber, who used up Trump's one and only 120-day appointment. Why didn't Bondi give Halligan some other FBRA and special counsel hats? I don't know, man, but it seems to have dawned on her 6 weeks later that she had screwed up. On Halloween, Bondi signed this bizarre order claiming to retroactively appoint Halligan as special attorney under Section 515. Essentially, Bondi said that she was going back in time to September 22nd and putting another hat on Halligan. Alternatively, Bondi said she was ratifying what Halligan did back in September because she read all the papers and it was cool, so it didn't matter if Halligan had no legal authority to present a case to the grand jury. Bondi said a magic spell on Halloween and made it all okay. We are living in some very weird times, and so now is probably a good moment to wipe away all your personal and private information off the internet. Your cell phone number, home address, email address, private social media accounts, and tons of sensitive data are shockingly easy to purchase by anybody online, but malicious actors cannot hurt you if they can't find you, and so you can fight back and take control of your private information by signing up for today's sponsor, Incogni. Incogni wipes your personal data from the internet by searching the web, reaching out to data brokers and websites directly on your behalf, and forcing them to remove your private information. If they resist, Incogni will take care of that too, because Incogni fights back. But what makes Incogni truly powerful in taking back control of your privacy is the custom removals feature. It allows you to flag an unlimited number of sites where your data is exposed, and you can even have Incogni's privacy experts review and tackle the most uncooperative data brokers and people search sites. I've been using Incogni for a while now, and in that time you can see I've been on hundreds of lists, some of which have had a high sensitivity score, meaning the broker had tons of data on. Luckily, Incogni has completed hundreds of takedowns. I could never do this myself, so thank you to Incogni for weeks of work and adding me to over 40 suppression lists. And Incogni will continue to conduct ongoing removals because even if the broker removes your data once, collect it and publish it again. Though if online privacy is important to you, give Incogni a try. If you scan the code on screen or click on the link in the description, you'll get 60% off their annual unlimited plan, or try Incogni risk-free for 30 days. If you decide you want to keep it, you'll still get a 60% discount, so long as you use our code LEGAL, one word. So sign up for Incogni or we will see you in court. One of the first things Comey and James did after getting indicted was to file their cases unlawful appointment. They made all the just laid out, although they didn't describe them as hats, and they pointed to all the other judges in New Jersey, Nevada, and California who disqualified Trump's U.S. attorneys when they stayed on after their interim appointments expired. The Comey and James motions to dismiss were assigned to Judge Cameron McGowan Curry, a senior judge from South Carolina. One of the first things that Judge Curry did was to ask for the grand jury transcript to determine the extent of the indictment signer's involvement in the grand jury proceeding. The indictment signer would be Lindsay Halligan. That was a bad sign for Halligan because it strongly suggested that Judge Curry had already determined that Halligan was unqualified and was trying to see if the presence of another lawfully appointed prosecutor might save those indictments. But no other lawyer at EDVA would get anywhere near these garbage cases. Halligan was the only person who presented the charges to the grand jury, and she was the only one who signed the indictments. And she did all wearing one defective Section 546 hat. On November 25th, Judge Curry dismissed the charges against Comey and James. She said that Section 546 is unambiguous. A person appointed as United States Attorney may serve until the expiration of 120 days after the appointment by the Attorney General. Subsection D provides a single option for how subsequent interim appointments may be made. If an appointment expires under subsection C2, the district court, and only the district court, may appoint a United States Attorney to serve until the vacancy is filled. Translation,